Drake. Huh, there's a lot of little birds foraging on the meadow. Huh. Wow, those were like what, 4 repetitions? Cool. Heard the song thrush very well. That was a textbook example of a song thrush, you know, these repetitions. Drejku, tam ne, tady jdeme. And those little songbirds, I believe they might be... No, už si dostal do brudku. Drake, again, tries to go there, you know, I give him a treat. And he sees I'm not watching him, so he tries to go back. So I call him back and he wants another treat. Anyways, those little songbirds might have been yellowhammers. You know, they do flock together in such groups and forage on the ground in similar habitats. So could have been. I haven't heard any contact call that would tell me, yep, that was them. Sometimes you can tell when birds are flying away. They have some very specific field marks that you can identify as a certain species. For instance, yellowhammer has the outer tail feathers white, very brightly white. So when it flies off, you can see those, and you can also see that it has, and that's probably even more specific, that it has a very rusty colored, sort of like a brick red or rusty colored rump. And rump is the part of the body that is above the tail on its back. So that part is very rusty brown or rusty red. And with that, you can also identify a yellowhammer. Drejku, tam nejdem ale jo, k té srnce. Just telling Drake we're not going to see the carcass again. Drejku, tady jdeme. Okay, he's gone. Thought he's gonna run for it. Yeah, we're not going to see the dead deer. Maybe you can check it up like in 2 weeks' time or something, how the animals progressed with, you know, eating it up. It would be interesting to see it after 2 weeks, but not today. No, dneska ne, Drake'u, jo? Příště. Not today, Drake. Tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, but maybe next time. Yeah. No, hodný. Good boy. So yeah. So that's sometimes how you can tell birds apart when they fly away. Either by contact call, which they often make, or you can see, it doesn't even have to have a sharp eyesight really. You can sometimes see that like a sort of a flash of certain color, and you're like, oh, that was that guy. Okay. So yeah. And this is usually how I recognize and see, even without my glasses, I can recognize and see yellowhammers, because I see that flash of a white on the edges of the tail, and oh shoot, and the rusty colored rump. I haven't seen anything this time, so yeah. And of course males, especially old males in the breeding season, have a very bright yellow, especially on their head. So that yellow also is going to flash quite brightly, and you're going to know, oh yeah, that was a yellowhammer. Okay, come on, buddy. There you go. So yeah, it's just a little tip on how to identify birds from a bit afar when they're flying away flying away from you when you flush them from the grass or somewhere, you know. And yeah, and some birds have really specific behavior, you know. Some birds just don't forage as often on the ground, or you don't spook them up from that kind of place like other species, like, I don't know, song thrushes or yellowhammers, as I said. Those are often, or blackbirds, those are often found on the ground foraging, and you can often flush them out from there. But there are certain species that do not do that, so you can cross these off, you know. Not always. I mean, there is no, like, I mean, it's never a rule that even though this species is usually not found on the ground, that it cannot be there at some point, of course. But there is a very slim chance, unlike with certain species, like I mentioned, song thrush and blackbird, you know, those are constantly on the ground foraging, turning over leaves, trying to find earthworms and other, you know, insects and grubs and all that. So they're constantly foraging on the ground. And as I mentioned, song thrush is trying to find, for instance, snails when it's the season. Oh, I think we're seeing, you probably can't see it, but there's a wren. I think it was a wren right by the green metal post there. We can actually hear one singing, but I believe that was a wren too. See it? See how it's like flew over down there? Now it's on the ground. I don't have my glasses, but it's very tiny brown bird, so it has to be wren. And it also, see, I don't see its pattern, I don't see its color very much, and I don't really see its shape, but because of my, you know, blurry long distance eyesight. But this behavior alone, even though I cannot see the details, this behavior alone tells me, oh, see it? See it over there? Now it's on the ground. That behavior alone tells me, okay, that has to be a wren. It might be a female because we're hearing a male nearby. Maybe female, and it's a female and it's gathering, perhaps it is gathering material for a nest. But see, it's still in there in the brambles. And is it? I can't really. Funnily enough, hold on, let me come. Oh, there's some deer running away. Yeah, I was wondering, because I really cannot see, unfortunately. But it's really like this behavior, flying very low, a small bird flying very low from bramble to bramble. That tells me that it was a wren. But I can't tell, you know, because for sure, I mean, I cannot say, yeah, that was a wren 100%. But what I wanted to say is that even when you do not see the vital details of, like, I don't know, the pattern, the color, you know, something you see in a book and you say, oh, that is a wren because, you know, it has this kind of colored beak and it has this kind of pattern on its wings and yada yada. Even when you cannot see that, you can tell so much from the behavior alone, from how low it's flying, how it's flying, actually, how it's flapping its wings. That's also a very specific thing. How far it's flying, that's another telltale sign. Or for instance, if you're seeing a bird passing, you know, above you, the way how it flies, the flying pattern, you know, how it, hold on, let me give Drake his treat. Okay, so I just have some broken up ones. There you go, good boy. Ouch, that was my finger. anyways. The way it's flying and its flying pattern, whether it's making these like whether it's flying straight, you know, or it's flying a bit down, or it's flying in like this way, you know, all those things can tell you a lot. How often it extends its wings, you know, how much it flaps its wings. Those are all the things that every bird has a very specific, and you can tell, especially the larger birds, and you can tell, okay, this was a woodpecker, this was a jay, and so on and so forth. Even when you don't see the pattern, even when you cannot recognize the color, those are all the things that can tell you, okay, that was this bird. And it happens to me a lot of time because I had to adapt, because as I mentioned in one of the videos, I have not been wearing glasses ever. I actually started wearing glasses about a year ago. Before, I was not wearing anything, and my eyesight was not crazy blurry, but it wasn't sharpest at all, and it was like that for, I don't know, 10 years maybe. So I adapted to recognize the movement and to recognize all various different things when I couldn't see the details, and it really works. And it can be very handy and very helpful when you are in an environment when you just cannot like make out the color, or when it's too far, when the bird is too far away, you know, like all those things can really help you identify the bird correctly. Or it can be just a great additional identifier, because you could have seen that a bird is brown, and thanks to the way it was flying and thanks to the way it was behaving, you can definitely pinpoint it to it being a wren, or to it being a chiffchaff, you know, whatever. So the hell was that sound? You heard that? Weird. It sounded like it's probably a tree that made a sound in the wind, like a creaking sound, but it sounded like a weird goat or something. Interesting. Yeah, so that was a little bit of a tip, or a little bit of more info about how else can you identify birds apart from its songs, calls, appearance. Is really the behavior and the way it flies and the way it is going about its habitat. That was an interesting one that we saw there, and it was really up close, but I really, especially in the low light, I really try to you know, bring my eyes to focus. You know, I was really frowning a lot and trying to like make out what's the bird, but I couldn't see anything. I just thought it was brown. And one other bird that came to mind was a chiffchaff, because that one is also kind of have a similar behavior, similar size, similar color. But the thing is, I have not heard a chiffchaff yet. It's a bird that when I hear, I'm like, oh wow, spring is really here. It's like, for me, it's a kind of that bird that kind of like a spring messenger, you know. It's just a bird that when you hear, for me, that really means spring has come. And I have not heard chiffchaff yet. I think we're gonna hear it soon. My guess would be in about a week or 2 weeks, the latest probably. But I think it's too early for them. And yeah, if I were to hear one, then I would be like, might be a chiffchaff, but I don't know. I'll see what the camera captured, but I don't think it captured that much of a detail, especially in such a low light. So I doubt we're gonna learn anything from the footage, but in my opinion, given that you know, it was not given that the chiffchaffs are still not here, at least I haven't heard any chiffchaff, and given it really had those brown colors. But then again, when I think about it, the way it was flying and the way it was like flapping its wing did not really give me a wren vibe that much, you know. It's strange. Yeah, it is strange, because I was sure it was wren, but then I saw it a little bit up close. I was like, but does not really have didn't really have a shape of a wren, because it had the tail was a little longer than I would like imagine a wren would have, and yeah, and the brown was a little washed out. So, you know, that was a little bit of a mystery bird. Could have been a tit maybe, but tits have pretty bright colors, especially gray tit. You would see that yellow. Blue tit, you would see a blue or something. So, and they're kind of greenish, you know, they're not really brown. And then there is this is a thought process that you can have when you've seen a bird that you cannot identify. Of course, when you have binoculars, then, you know, all that is, if I would have binoculars, that would be such an easy ID, you know, because I've really seen it from like 2 meters away. So I would see brilliant details, and it wasn't really moving that fast. So when you have binoculars in such moments, it's an easy identification, really. Or if you have a camera, you know, you could have taken a photo and then just zoom it in and you would totally see it. I could have actually taken a photo with the GoPro now that I think about it. But anyways, when you're in a situation like I was, and you're not like, you don't have a very sharp sight for long distance, then you can really have this kind of thought process and be like, so what could have been, what was the possibility of what kind of species could it have been? And then you're starting to sort of do the filtering process when you're like, hey, okay, it couldn't have been a tit because, you know, it had these colors, you know. It probably wasn't a wren, actually, because the shape didn't really match and the tail was a bit too long. And the color, the brown color, was kind of washed out. It really kind of reminded me of more of a like a reed warbler or perhaps a chiffchaff, as I mentioned. See those guys up there, high up on the sky, or not that high up, but yeah, there. Those were the rooks, and the ravens, and they did a little bit of a joy flight there. It's definitely a pair, so they're probably doing their, you know, romantic flight and all that. They probably have a nest already somewhere, and already might have had laid some eggs, or maybe they're about to lay eggs. But anyway, let me get back to that thought process. So the only bird that I can really think of that it could have been is either a chiffchaff, a wren, but I don't know. It just seemed, retrospectively, I feel like it really had a different shape and a different color, and the flapping and all that, the behavior in general was different, you know. Wren is really a tiny little bird, and it really kind of behaves like a little mouse. It's like going through the brambles at such a low height, you know, very close to the ground, and it's like comes in and disappears. And this one was kind of behaving more like a classic songbird, you know, but not super much as a classic songbird, but kind of. So another bird that comes to mind apart from chiffchaff and wren is a robin. But the thing with robin is that you would undoubtedly see the red breast of or orangey red breast of the robin, and both female and male have those. So that is unlikely, and robin is much larger, but this was a really small bird, you know. So that was a mystery bird, really. But most likely, I don't know, maybe it was actually a chiffchaff that just, you know, arrived and it was not singing yet, or it was female or something. And hell, maybe it was a first chiff-chaff this spring, who knows. I'm gonna check the camera footage, see if I can make out something out of it. But yeah, that was an interesting one. But this is exactly a brilliant example where you can use all sorts of different things apart from color and appearance and song and call, that you can identify birds. The behavior is really crucial, and sometimes people forget about this kind of identifying clue, you know, that behavior is extremely important, you know, the flying pattern, everything, not just the color, not just the song or call, like everything about the bird is extremely specific and very unique for that particular species, and it really changes in between those species, you know. So yeah, it was a really cool example of that. Anyways, I'm gonna sign off now.